In this demo, I'd like to demonstrate some features in ezEML, which are new as of the date of this recording. They are intended to help you as you create and edit data packages, easily see where you are, what work you still have left to do, where there are errors, and so on. Help you navigate the process of filling in and finishing a data package with good metadata. In this video, I'll assume that you are familiar with ezEML and how you use it. I just want to focus on these new features. So let's start with looking at, this is ezEML as it currently exists. I'm going to create a new package. And when it opens up, I see, I have a bunch of sections available to be filled in, some of which are required, some aren't. It's not obvious to me at this point which ones are required. But I do see that I have this check metadata down here, which has a red badge saying there's an issue. And if I open that, I see a list of all the errors and warnings for the package. And I can click on one of them and it takes me into uh, the area in question. Let me just go back to that for a second. The issue was for data tables that data sets should contain at least one table. Okay, so I got to add a table. I add a table by uploading a CSV file. Okay, now a bunch of stuff gets filled in, as you know, by ezEML. And there are, a bunch of columns are created for the data table by analyzing the CSV file. But what remains to be done? Well, I have to go back to check metadata. I see all these issues. If I click one, it takes me into the page, but I have to notice that in this case, the issue was explanation. That's what I need to look for on the page. And I go down, oh, here's explanation, and I can fill it in. Okay. So it's a process then that you fill that in and you go back to check metadata and you see the next one. You have to go back and forth, back and forth. And in each case, as you go to fill in to correct an error, fill in a value, you have to remember what the item was in question and then find it on the page and then fill it in. So that's how it has worked up till now. Let's look at the new features. So here I've switched to a different server. This is running the new software, which will be released in just a couple days. So this is the development server. I will create a new empty package. And now we see that the appearance is different. Every item that is required has a colored badge which indicates its status. And generally speaking, the badges are clickable, as we'll see in a second. The color scheme, I just click the help for contents. The color scheme is that red indicates errors, yellow indicates no errors, but there are warnings. Green indicates no errors or warnings. And there are some sections that are not required and currently have nothing in them, so there's no errors or warnings. And since they're not required, they're left empty rather than green. So you can distinguish cases where you haven't put anything in there yet. So here we don't have errors, but it's not something that we need to provide if we don't want to. All right, so when I look at this, what do I learn? Well, I have definitely some errors, and I have a bunch of warnings, and I want to go through and see what those are. My goal here, as I'm working, is to certainly get rid of all the red badges, all the errors, and ideally get rid of the yellow ones. So the ideal outcome would be to have green for everything. We'll find that we'll probably, in practice, wind up with still some yellow because there's a few items that like ORCID IDs or something that we don't have for a user, that kind of thing. But we want to get as close as possible to having all green. Now, if I look at the check metadata page, like we saw in the earlier version of ezEML, it's similar, but now there's colored badges indicating whether they're errors or warnings, and these are clickable. The and everywhere where there's a red or yellow badge, it's clickable in the whole application. If I click on it, now when it takes me to a page, the section, the item that needs to be dealt with is highlighted, so I don't have to hunt for it. And I can say here, my title. All right, the title changed from red to yellow, so there's still an issue there. So let's go back and look at title. It says my title's not long enough, so let me fill that in. These are not good titles. This is just for the purposes of this demo. But okay, now my title's green, so I'm making progress. All right, data tables. What's the issue there? Well, a data set should contain at least one data table. So let me upload one. Oh, sorry, wrong button. Upload a sample CSV file. As before, ezEML has filled in a bunch of stuff, and we see that this table has an issue or has one or more issues. So I'll click on that. It says, oh, a data table description is highly recommended. Oh, and there's the description. It highlighted for me what it is I need to fill in, where I need to fill it in, rather. Now there's I'll just save changes here. I'll explain here in a minute what that's about. Let's go now look at the columns for the table. Each of the columns has a status as well. So I see that all the columns currently have at least one thing that needs to be fixed. So let me go to I can either, so again, I can click on directly on the badge here and I get all the errors, which on all the errors are clickable. Or I can, if I like, go into the column and see everything. And then again, these are clickable. So I'll click the first error. What I'm going to do is just go through, click an error, fix it, click the next one, fix it, and get to green. So the first one was that this definition has to be filled in. So I'll do that. Now let's suppose the sort of the natural thing to do now is to go back up to the list and get the next error. But there's an issue that if let me just do it and you'll see what happens. I get a warning saying that I have unsaved changes. I filled in year studied, but I did not save it. And if I just went ahead now and clicked another error in the list, it would cause this page to refresh and that change would be lost. So this pop-up explains that to me, and it tells me that in the future, the way to do this is to make a change, click the Save Changes button, get the next one. So that's the flow to get used to. And so when I close this, the Save Changes button flashes at me to tell me, oh, that's the Save Changes I'm talking about. I'll click that. Your studied now is filled in. It's not highlighted anymore. And if I go back to the list, it's gone from the list. It's not one of the remaining issues to be filled. The next one, let me go back, not do that so fast. If this said a missing value code explanation is required, and now I don't have to worry about where is it on the page. It takes me there. Fill in missing value, save changes. Missing value is now gone from the list. How about what's the next? Numerical variable has to have a unit. Now, this could be a custom unit, but usually it's a standard unit, so it fills in that, but you could switch over to custom unit if that's what you need. So the fact that this is highlighted doesn't mean that you're required to do something there. It's just directing your attention to that spot. So I'll fill in a random unit, save changes, and now the column is green. So I'm done with that column. And I come back to the list of columns and I see that column is in fact green. I'll go now to the next one, plot arm. Again, I need a definition, save the change. What's next? Missing value code, fill that in, save changes. What's next? The code definition. So I had a categorical, I have a categorical, this is a categorical column. So I have categorical codes which require definitions. So I'll fill that in and I come back to the code definitions page because I'm going to have to fill all these in. So let me just do that. So I didn't, in other words, I don't have to come back out to the column page and use that drop down list. I can just also fill things in at any point without using that process. So now I go back to the column and it's green. That was everything. And continuing in that way, we can get every column turned to green, and then the data table itself will be green, and we'll see it green in the list of data tables. And if we had multiple data tables, they would be each have their own status. And when they're all green, then the badge out here would turn green. Let me just point out that the badges in the contents list are clickable as well. What they do is they take you into the relevant section of the check metadata page. So you can see, you can sort of zoom out and see all of the errors at once. And I'll show you in a little later a case where that's quite useful. So now coming back to data tables, I'm not going to go through the cleaning up all of the data table. Let's just go on to see what else is happening here. Well, creators, there's a badge for it. It says at least one data set creator is required. Okay, so that's why it's red. So I'll add a creator, and it's okay. It's no longer red because I actually have a creator, but there's some warnings for this creator. And what is it? Oh, I need an ORCID ID. It's recommended and an email address. So let me do that. I'll click on that. Takes me to the ORCID ID, which I fill in, save changes. What else? Email address takes me there, fill in. And that was everything. So I can come back out and creators is now green. And it's green out here because the issue out here was just that we needed at least one creator and we have one and it's green. Go on to contacts. What's the issue? It's the same thing. We need at least one contact, so I'll add one. That came yellow. Okay, I need an ORCID ID, an email address, and I'm just filling in values here. Of course, you would fill in real stuff. So now we have our contacts are good, and then we could add more creators and more contacts. Let me just do that. I'll add make Charles Darwin a contact as well, and come back out. And I see that uh, the Charles Darwin contact is yellow because I haven't filled in the ORCID and email. And now the contacts as a whole are yellow because there's still an issue. Uh, when all the contacts are green, the contact section will be green. I'm going to leave that for now and just go on. Associated parties is not required, and there's nothing there, but that's fine. So it's empty out here. If we add an associated party, the we'll get a badge for it. Oh, in this case, it's red, and why is that? Let's look. A role is required. For associated party, you have to indicate a role in addition to the normal stuff for a person. So let's click on that. And role, I'll say principal investigator. And now it's switched to yellow. Let's just go on. Abstract, what's the issue? Well, we need an abstract. So click on that. The abstract is, sorry, the abstract is highlighted, and I'm just grabbing some text here. That's what that was. Throw it in there. Now we've got an extra abstract, so it's green. Keywords, what's the issue? We need some keywords, or it's a warning. It's recommended that you have keywords, and it's actually recommended you have at least 5. So I'm just going to import some, just save time, select them, import. Now I have a bunch of keywords, so keywords is green. Intellectual rights, got to specify, I'll specify CC BY, common Creative Commons license. So intellectual rights is good. Geographic coverage, I'm going to upload it. You could just, of course, fill it in. I'm just trying to do this quickly. So I'll upload from a CSV file. It's green. Temporal coverage, it's green, and so on. So that's the process. Just go through and let the badges guide you as to where you have things that are missing or incorrect, and use the buttons and the links, the badges and the links to tell you, show you where to go. They'll just take you there. So I mean, I did that too quickly. Let's go back. The issue with methods was and that we should have at least one method step. And if I click on it, it took me to the method steps page and highlighted the button for add method step to indicate to me that's where I need to do something. So it just can't type. And I'm going to fetch a data source rather than type everything in for it. Okay, so I have, oh, there's an issue with the data source. Let me see what that's about. I need some ORCID IDs. So again, I could fill that in, or if I don't have them, I can leave it yellow. So I have methods now as I have a method step, but it has an issue because of the ORCID IDs. Project, we need a project. I'll just import one. Okay, now we've got a project, and let's see, the project personnel, they all have their own status, but if any of them had an issue that, that they wouldn't be green. Throughout everywhere, the greens are not clickable because there's nothing to do. There's no place for them to take you. So they're just a visual indication that there's nothing to do, but you don't need to click them. Um, check data tables is still yellow. It's because we never ran check data table. So let's do that. Now it's green. So check metadata. We didn't finish data tables. So that's why check metadata is still red. But once we finish data tables and get that green, then check metadata would be yellow because there's still some yellow issues, but we can get rid of all the red. And that's the process. So use the links, use the badges to take you to where the issues are and fill them in. And remember that when you're on a page, and if you're going to use the list of errors and warnings to guide you, after each change, save the changes. And then pick the next one. And in that way, you can very quickly find and fix your errors. So we hope that this is useful for you. We'd love to hear your feedback, and hopefully this will assist everyone in creating quality metadata. And when you go to submit your package to EDI, hopefully what comes in to us are packages with no red badges at all, and almost all or all green. Right. So as I said, thanks. Uh, we would be appreciative of your feedback and questions. And with that, I'm going to close. Actually, there's one additional point I want to make. There is a use case, a kind of use case where it may be particularly useful to use the check metadata page as opposed to the individual badges. And that is if, for example, you are fetching a package from EDI, you're getting ready to update a package and you want to see at a glance what its overall status is. So for example, here I'm just importing or fetching rather a package, and we see that this was a package that was saved to the EDI repository, so it's in good shape. But there are some yellow badges, but in general it's green. And let me just check the data tables and see what the status is there. Okay, so that's green. So what about these yellow badges? Now this might, if I am an information manager, let's say, and I want to update a package or go through and clean up packages, I can do this, fetch it, and then look at check metadata, and I see all at a glance all together the big picture. What kinds of warnings are in this package? And we see that they're all missing ORCID IDs and email addresses. And it's a lot easier to do that than it is to go pick through the various yellow badges individually. So I just wanted to point out that use case. Thank you.